Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see such a great crowd again. Thank you for coming. This is the Bennington Select Board meeting of Monday, August 12th, 2024. We are in the Bennington Fire Facility, 3rd floor, and my name is Jeannie Jenkins. I have the pleasure of chairing this board, and we'll start with Nancy to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Nancy White.
I am a little tardy, and I'm Sarah Perrin.
Good evening, I'm Ed Woods.
Hi, I'm Tom Haley.
Clark Adams.
Hi, I'm Jean Connor.
Thank you all. Also with us tonight, we have Town Manager Stu Hurd. We have Nancy Lively is back, who takes excellent minutes, as always. We have Jonah Spivak, who will be making sure that all the presentations run smoothly. And we have Josh Boucher from Cat TV filming us, as always, which we very much appreciate. So, with that, let's begin, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you lead us, Ed?
I will.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Ed. Tom, would you read the vision statement that guides our work?
I will. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, and resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you very much. All right, next up is the consent agenda, and what I'd like to do is just take out the, let's vote first on everything in the consent agenda except for the minutes of the 19th, okay? So that'll be minutes of July 17, 18, and 22, the warrants, and the one liquor license for a new business. Yay. Could I have a motion for the purposes of discussion?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Jim.
We are doing the July 22nd minutes, yes?
Yes, we're doing
okay,
everything.
That's what I thought you said. So on page 3, Sarah's last name is spelled incorrectly. It's in the text for each of the motions. It should be P-E-R-R-I-N. And on page 6, line 165, that should be Jeannie, Jeannie, not me. Thanks.
Okay, any other? Yes, Nancy.
Question on the minutes, page 1, line 42 to 44, where it says I asked a question that I'm regarding an answer from the town attorney on. When do we get that answer from the town attorney?
So that's a different question. So what we're doing right now is approving the minutes.
All right, then I'll bring that up in other business.
And actually, that would be a question to ask Stu.
It's past due, though.
Well, nevertheless, that would be a question
And my
for
other
Stu.
question is on the warrants, page 1, 401412, advanced tennis, $30,350. Is that for the tennis court at the rec center?
I'm sorry, Nancy, could you do that again for me, please?
Page 1, third one down, advanced tennis.
Yes. That's resurfacing of the tennis court, which we did this year.
Okay. In the budget information I got from the town office in January, you said that we're putting away, I can't find it, I think it's $6,000 for the tennis court. So where did the other $24,000 come to pay for it?
That was in the excess income. We had actually budgeted over 2 fiscal years, $12,000 each year to cover that $24,000, but we didn't need to use it because of the additional income, if I'm remembering correctly.
Then I'll have to get together because I've got the 2 printouts of the budget and I don't see the $12,000 on there.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes,
Clark?
I have multiple questions here. Okay. On, again, it would be page 3, item number 40.
Wait, warrants? Okay.
Correct, warrants, yes. Item 401408. $44,841 for a Ford F-350. And then the same question going to item number 401456, a Kubota loader.
What page is that?
I guess that would be page 5. And an equipment loan. No, these are all one question.
Oh, it's all one question.
I don't
Okay,
remember.
okay.
My question is, I'm seeing all these purchases for vehicles. I don't recall a discussion of those purchases. When did that take place?
In the first instance, the Ford was purchased using excess funds. That's why when you look at the number associated with the account, it is not a standard number. In the second instance, the Kubota loader is also a borrowing that was in place. So we budgeted for the borrowing. It's equipment that we purchased basically probably, I'm going to guess, 2 years ago, but we're still paying on it. Those loans through the bank, we take out over 7 to 8 years, depending on the lifetime of the piece of equipment.
And the discussion of the excavator/dump truck, that's in the same response?
That is the same response, yes. Those are borrowings where we pay over time, thereby keeping the increases in the budget from jumping up and down. It moderates increases in the budget, and it helps us stay relatively flat.
Okay.
Mark, not sure if it helps you at all, but that second one, the check being made out to M&T Bank would tell you that it's debt service or payoff.
Again, it's just a substantial amount of money, and I don't, if it happened 2 years ago, that explains why I wasn't aware of the discussion. That was my main concern, is the amount of money being spent. I don't remember hearing about it, that's all. But I guess I have my answer, thank you.
Any others? Any other questions? All right, hearing none, let's vote on the consent agenda minus the minutes of the 19th. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous aye. All right, and then the minutes of July 19th. Could I have a motion for the purpose of discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yep. It says we had an executive session, no action was taken.
Yes.
Well, we did take action that night. I know it's the technical thing, but it should be adjusted.
No, we actually didn't take action. What we did was meet in executive session to do what we had said in public we would do, which was to develop a slate of candidates for us to vote on. If it's helpful, I mean, is that sufficient? Or with the board's permission, I can give more information about our practice, but not our voting.
Well, for clarity, the action was not taken until Monday open meeting, the
Right.
22nd.
And that's when we voted. So you, at that point, any one of us could decide to vote in favor or not in favor of a slate. But as we said in open session, and also as we said to every single one of the 20 candidates, we would not put them in the position of voting in public on all 20 of them. That's just not, that's not something that should happen for an appointment. So our action was actually taken on Monday night when we voted for the slate.
Well, but we decided that night who we were going to be choosing. Technically, we voted on the following
We did
Monday.
not vote on them. What I did ask is everyone okay with us going forward with this slate? We did not vote on them.
That was just discussion.
So what that means is that a slate is a consensus item where not everyone that everyone wanted was on that slate, but we were all in agreement that we would put forward that slate. There was enough agreement to do that, and then people could vote as they wished on Monday. So that is that is the way executive session works. If what we did in executive session was to interview people, take notes, and then have a public discussion about who we would put on a slate, that no one would apply for board or commissions, for sure.
I thought if the people were notified before the meeting, I mean, that was pretty much a decision, wasn't it?
They were notified I notified people to say, are you, we have put you, and we told them we were going to do this. We told them that we would let them know what the slate was going to look like. So I contacted everybody that was on the slate and said that I wanted to make sure that they were still willing to serve because they were going to be on a slate. I didn't want them to be surprised and then decide that, in fact, they were just applying to see how it went.
Can I just say something might help with a little clarity?
Yeah.
We can't take an action in executive session.
Right.
It has to be in public. It's the terminology that's just a little tricky. If we had done that, that's really wrong. So we didn't take any action based on the definition of what that is, and it has to happen in public.
So if that slate on Monday, if the majority of us had decided we were not in favor of that slate, then we would have needed to go back into executive session, relook at the 20 candidates, and come up with a different slate. Yeah. But it would have been a slate that would have been put forward.
Could we put in some sort of language?
We could say a slate was developed.
Yeah, maybe we could say something like that.
Does that help?
Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
It's not an action. It's still not an action, but we could put a little more text in the minutes.
Nancy, does that? Okay, you got that? Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still for the purpose of discussion. I was not at the meeting, so I will be abstaining.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the minutes of July 19th, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Any abstentions?
Abstaining.
All right, one abstention. Thank you. Thank you all. All right. Next up is public comment, and we have a fair amount of it. Let's see, Jonah Spivak, you're up for Battle Day.
Hi, I'm the communications coordinator for the town of Bennington, and 247 years ago today, British forces were on their way to invade Vermont. Spoiler alert, they didn't get here because we stopped them in their tracks at the Battle of Bennington on August 16th, 1777. This coming Friday is August 16th. It will be the 247th commemoration of this happy event, which Thomas Jefferson called the first link in the chain that led to victory at Saratoga, which changed the course of the Revolutionary War and ultimately the course of history for the entire world. So we in Vermont have been celebrating this occasion every year since it happened. This year is no different, and we have a wide slate of activities and events going on this coming weekend in commemoration of the Battle of Bennington and, of course, the founding of Vermont, which was an independent republic for the first 14 years of its existence. We have a long list of things going on, so I'm not going to say everything, but I will comment that the activities actually start Thursday night. There's a cornhole tournament and a cruise-in on Main Street. On Friday in the morning, there is a commemoration led by the Daughters of the American Revolution at the Battle Monument. This will be unveiling a new marker honoring Revolutionary War patriots. On Friday night is the commemoration ceremony at the Bennington battlefield. On Saturday is the Food Truck Festival in downtown Bennington, and alongside that, a Liberty Pole raising, commemorating the kinds of revolutionary activities that were happening before we started shooting at each other in 1775. Those activities continue on Sunday with the Bennington Battle Day Parade, which kicks off at 12:30. And I should also mention, I would be remiss to say that we have already started fundraising for these 250th anniversaries that officially kick off next year in 2025. And there is a fundraiser at the Manchester Equinox Hotel on Saturday night to support those upcoming anniversary years. Tickets are still available, bennington250.org. At the battlefield, there's also events, and at the Bennington Battle Monument, there are going to be reenactors, there'll be some cannon and musket salutes. So all told, a very exciting and interesting weekend for all the residents of the town, as well as visitors who come from near and far to celebrate alongside us. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jonah. It's unusual to get applause in public comment. All right. Vicki Lamprin, talk about window dressers.
What a difference a year makes. Last year, this time, we were freezing, if anybody remembers how cold it was in here. So I have my visual aids. I'm not a computer genius. I don't do, the little slideshows. So I do the real things. So I am here to talk to you about window dressers. I'm here to talk to you about helping you to stay a little bit warmer in your homes or your apartments this winter. It's not a homeowner, it's for anybody that has windows, and most of us have those. What we do is we are a group who, I don't know which way to look.
I think you can look at them.
Thank you. We're a group, volunteer, and what we do is we all work together to raise funds to pay for window inserts for folks who might have a little difficulty coming up with cash to pay for these. This isn't a sample. This is not real size. We go in and we measure the windows inside your homes, and then these are built to fit every single window. If your house is like mine, every window is a different measurement. So what happens when it's built in 1905? And then we have a big weekend it's a week, October 24th to October 30th. Thank you to the Loyal Order of the Moose, 916 Main Street. They have donated the use of the building for a whole week so that volunteers can go in and build the window inserts for folks who have ordered these. We are looking for folks who want to volunteer to help build. I am not handy, but boy, I can wrap plastic. So that's part of it. We're going to look for folks to drop off snacks for people. Let's see, what else? We are going to work very hard to help make sure that people are a little warmer. I have some of these in my house from last year, and I can tell you, walking from one window to the next, it's huge. It's huge. The draft is not there. It's way mitigated. It's a big difference. These pop out really easily in the springtime. If you want to open those windows, I store them. Well, one goes underneath the couch, the other one goes under the dining room because there's only two of us now, and the rest go under beds. Or some are left right in the windows where they belong because we may or may not open those windows. There are folks in this group that have worked super, super hard to fundraise, and I can't tell you the hard work and the amount of money that they've been able to raise to pay for these for folks who can't or who maybe have difficulty paying for these. So there's two places. You could go to windowdressers.org and you can sign up to have your windows measured and inserts built for you. Or you can also go there and sign up under Southshire Bennington Build if you'd like to volunteer and hang out with all of us great carpenters for a week, because we really love the fellowship that's created with this. If anybody has any more questions, I'm going to leave a couple of our little insert flyers on the back here, and I'll hang out afterwards the meeting if anybody wants to chat with me about getting involved with this. Thank you.
Great. Quick question, Vicki. So if I want window inserts and I actually can't afford to buy them, can I get window inserts?
Of course you can. Thank you, Jeannie, for that question.
I have another question.
I love questions.
If
$5.
If I volunteer, will you teach me how to do it?
Oh my
How to build an
gosh.
insert?
That we have experts on hand that are just experienced at doing. Thank you for these questions because I get nervous and forget. Yes, there's always folks there who are going to help and guide you and teach you and show you. And if you make a mistake, oh my gosh, it's so easy to fix. Any other questions?
Will heating costs be less if you have these windows?
That's part of the goal, other than just keeping us warm, but to lower our costs because, you know, if you're like me, that fuel oil gets real expensive in the winter time.
Thank you very much. All right, next up, Mike Bethel to talk about stuff. And
Thank you. I don't expect an applause afterwards. But if Jonah wants to, I'll tip him later for screwing up this mic here a little bit off. But what I'm here to talk about is the downtown. This year, like last year, hasn't really been a lot of foot traffic. And each year we spend about 40,000, is it, Jonah? 50,000, something like that, to promote Bennington. And I would like this board, sometime before the snow falls, to have some sort of a discussion about what we can do for next year to improve the visibility of Bennington's downtown, the promotion of Bennington's downtown, and how that 40,000 or 50,000 is spent, because obviously it really is not working. The merchants down there have not asked me to do this, but I know quite a few of them, and they're hurting. And there's no reason for Bennington not to be on everybody's lips, from Shaftesbury, Pownell, Woodford, Brattleboro even, and Albany. We need to do more downtown, like we do, the truck thing, the food thing, and Mayfest, but we need to do more to promote it and get local people to come to shop the downtown. There's some great merchants down there. I got Deerfield Valley. They're doing a 2-week half page for the merchants downtown at a reasonable price. The banner for a half page is $6.50 for one day, Edwards, and this is a layout for 2 weeks for $3.50 a half page for each week. And I don't know if it will bring anybody from Brattleboro or Wilmington or that area, but I hope it does, because we've got a lot of new restaurants in town, a lot of great little shops, antique shops, Vines and Branches. We've got a hobby shop that's great. 421 spent a lot of money putting that patio, and we need more concentration on that. And I wish you people would do that, to analyze what you're doing with that 40, 50 grand. It could be a lot, I think, better spent, because I get up in the summer most of the time. Winter time, it's not too easy to get out. But in the summertime, I don't see the foot traffic. Each year it seems to, and it's beautiful weather. This year we had some great weather, maybe too hot for some people. You wouldn't need to do your windows there in the summertime, but we need to help the people downtown, or we're going to have the swinging door effect, like Harvey York said many years ago. You bring some in, and they can't last, so they go out. And there's no need for that. Bennington's a great little town. It has the history. Jonah knows this. Bennington's the first one chartered, correct? And I had a logo a long time ago I wish you guys had used, where it's Bennington, Vermont's hometown. And I think if we'd start looking at what we're doing and either redo it or change it, we might get some better results for next year. And I don't know why, I like Jack over there. My pet name for Jack is Jack Spratt. We've talked about that. But if he can do all that he does, and he gets all these meetings going in front of you people, which is great, not against what Jack's doing, but I think we can do something for the people of downtown and the merchants. They deserve it. So thank you very much, and I do not want a standing ovation, so thank you.
Thank you. All right. I will say, I do want to say, though, at budget time, we do look at that budget every year, look at how the money was spent and what it's going to be allocated for next year. And I will, if you haven't seen this month's edition of Vermont Begins Here, it's all about food options in Bennington, and it's actually really exciting to see how many different kinds of cuisines we currently have. So thank you very much for your comment. We will certainly take it to heart. Next, we have Cindy Murray to talk about the rail trail and speed bumps.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is my first select board meeting, so I'm really excited to be here. Recently moved here, well, back in December, but it's been kind of a rough year. But anyway, here I am, and I've met Clark and Tom and talked to you guys about getting a speed bump or something on Gage Street. We live at 309 Gage, bought Bill Bratcher's house. If anybody knows Bill Bratcher, seems like everybody does. And so we're fixing it up and everything, but it seems like from Park to our house, which is only like 4 houses down, they get up to 50 miles an hour. And it's all the way up to Yachts before they have to stop again. And you know, Ben L is there, the high school's just 2 blocks away, kids for the middle school once school gets back in session, and it just seems like there's a lot of speeding right there on Gage Street. So I don't know if there's anything that we can do, but my first thought was maybe putting a speed bump at Maple Street and maybe another one further down. Might be a deterrent, but anyway, when I moved to Rutland, Vermont 20 years ago, I got a stop sign put on my street right in front of my house, so I'm not going to give up. Then the other thing is, thank you so much for getting the trash cans. Another thing I talked with Clark about, getting the trash cans on the rail trail. That's awesome. And then also I saw that you're getting the little, you called them poopy pots or poop pots or something for the dogs, for people to pick up the dog waste, so that's great. Hoping to see those soon. I'm a runner, and I like to run in the wintertime in all kinds of weather, and last year when we first moved here back in December, the rail trail was nicely plowed, and then for the first snowstorm we got, and then for some reason I went back and it wasn't plowed again. And it's just, you can't run on that. Once people step in it and everything, and it gets really dangerous. And then for runners, in the wintertime, it's kind of dangerous to run on the icy roads and everything. So I would just appreciate it. And I don't know if other people like to enjoy the rail trail in the wintertime as well, but if we could maybe continue to get that snow plowed in the wintertime. So that's
Great.
all I've got to ask.
Thank you.
So,
and your timing is perfect, because actually Mark Anders is coming to our next August meeting to talk about traffic calming measures.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Stu, I see you're busy writing down.
Yes.
Plowing. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Good.
I have a question for Stu. Does the state allow us to put speed bumps on public streets?
As long as they are streets that we own and control, they would, yes. But it's not a recommended practice.
So Mark, part of what Mark is coming next time to do is to talk about what we can do about we've had various neighborhoods come and comment on speed demons in their neighborhood. So how we can address this. So.
And he'll talk about why a speed bump may not be the best application, but there may be something else that can be looked at instead.
Yeah. All right. And then our own Sarah Perrin.
Thanks. I'm here as a private citizen. I'm going to talk about the Food Truck Festival. This is something I co-chair with Betsy Greenewalt, and this is in its 6th annual year. Here's a poster for everyone to see. I'm going to spin this around. I know a bunch of you will be there already, so thank you. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview. This will be from 11 to 7 at the corner of Main Street and School Street. And come check out artisans, specialty food booths, kids' activities, face painting, henna, an auction bar, cuisines from around the world, Afghan food. We have some people that will be serving Afghan food here, so thank you very much. Jamaican food, Mexican, Greek food, barbecue, sweet and savory crepes, especially burgers, homemade mac and cheese, maple fried dough, maple cotton candy, kettle corn, desserts, and much, much more. So new this year, we have food for seafood lovers. We'll have lobster rolls and crab cakes. Also, music will be by Greg Manhowen, The Throwbacks, and Tina's Cantina. Madison's will be doing beer garden with Little City Cider. And as always, this is free for everyone. So come check it out. Hope to see all y'all there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes public comment, unless there's someone who forgot to sign up. We're good? Okay. All right. Next, we invite Jack Munley and crew to talk to us about ECDC, or Ethiopian Community Development Council.
Yes. Thank you very much. My name is Jack Rossiter Munley. I'm the Resettlement Programs Manager and Community Engagement Manager for ECDC. That stands for the Ethiopian Community Development Council. It's not a great name to describe our work, and we'll get into why that is during our presentation. But we presented to the Select Board about a year ago about refugee resettlement, because we are a refugee resettlement agency. So tonight we'll provide an update that includes information about who refugees are, how refugees arrive to Bennington, some of the federally funded programs that support our work, and the basic services that we provide to anyone who is arriving new to the United States as a refugee, and then talk in a little bit more detail about some of the specific local programs that we have generated in the last year directly in response to an understanding of broader community needs here and requests from the growing refugee community here in Bennington.
I haven't got the right one.
It's okay. So I wanted to start by talking about who refugees are. As a refugee resettlement agency, the folks who are arriving through our program are designated as refugees. And a refugee is someone who is forced to escape from their home country because of threats of violence and persecution. And there's a number of different reasons that they may face those threats, but that is the underlying cause of the person becoming displaced from their home country. And in fact, you cannot register as a refugee with the United Nations in most cases until you're outside of your home country. This is an involuntary situation, and there is a multi-layered international process at work for someone to arrive new to the United States. First, you have to register with the United Nations. Then you, as an individual couple or family, have a case that's created. That case then gets matched to a country. You then go through a whole other round of security and vetting procedures for that country before you ever arrive. In the United States, there are 10 nonprofit organizations that are contracted with the federal government to run the refugee resettlement programs that the government funds. ECDC, the Ethiopian Community Development Council, was originally founded by members of the Ethiopian community, but now serves as one of these 10 agencies that works with people arriving as refugees from all around the world. So the name doesn't quite match the reality of the work that we do, so I don't want there to be any confusion. We work with people who are from a number of different countries. So what has resettlement looked like here in Bennington? Well, Bennington was designated as an official resettlement site in October of 2022. There had been some Afghan families who had resettled in Bennington as refugees before then, but they had actually arrived through the Brattleboro office of ECDC and resettled here in Bennington with significant volunteer support. What we, just to make a little bit of a distinction, have been calling direct resettlement, which means people coming to Bennington as their first entry into the United States upon arrival, really began in July of last year, about a month before we last presented to the Select Board. We opened our permanent office space here in December of 2023, and we now operate the Bennington Multicultural Community Center at 120 Union Street, which is a combination of our office space and a community space where we have a number of events, which you'll hear more about today. Almost 100 people have come to Bennington since direct resettlement began in July of 2023, and they represent people from a number of different countries. There are Afghan people, Congolese people, and someone from Iraq. And the number of languages that are spoken by that group are pretty incredible. The most common ones are listed here: Dari, Pashto, Swahili, Kinyarwanda, Arabic, French, Turkish, and many, many more. Almost everyone who arrives is multilingual, even if those languages do not include English. And we know, because of how the federal resettlement process works, what our projected number of arrivals will be in the coming federal fiscal year, which runs from October 1st to September 30th. And we are expecting 90 people, which counts people of all ages and all different configurations, coming in that span of time. For a little bit of context, that is about the number of people who arrived between July 2023 and July of this year. So we have some experience with what that pace of people arriving looks like from a community standpoint and also from our own standpoint as we understand how to run the programs that our agency runs to support people who are arriving new to the United States. To talk in a little bit more detail about the main program that we run, that everyone who arrives is a part of, I would like to invite our case manager, Saeed Shirsha Sadat, to talk about that, since he's the one who really does a lot of that work.
Hello, my name is Saeed Shirsha Sadat. I am the R&P case manager. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor to speaking as a new American, although I've been in the United States around 3 years. As my colleague Jack said, we are working with the people coming with different status. We are working with the people coming with different cultures, different communities, and education systems. Anybody is coming to Bennington, they are automatically enrolled at the R&P program, which means is reception and placements. After that, we are learning any cases coming to Bennington. We identify a safe and affordable housing for them, and we are preparing with the donations we are getting. Also, we are meeting our client at the first time on the airport or the station they are coming, and we are welcoming them with the warm meal and pocket monies. After anybody's arrived to Bennington, we introduce them with the new communities, environments, and services. We are assist our client to finding employment, and we are working very closely with Department of Labor. The Department of Labor representative Erin is here. She will give more information about it. Also, we are helping all our refugees to apply for all relevant state services. These services can be cash benefits, food benefits, and health benefits. Also, we are providing culture orientation classes with the classes. With this orientation, we are working with the new people. They are coming to learn United States law, education systems, health system, transportation system, and other subject is needed for anyone is new coming to the communities. Also, we are access to education. We are working with our client they can access for education with English classes, school enrollment, and others high education levels. Also, we are creating a community partnerships to support refugees, resettlement refugees. My family was the first family, actually, we came to Bennington, Vermont, and that was the first Afghan family. The time we came here, here was not under resettlement. That took really long time enough for us. We be in the community, and we started be actually as active community members. But right now we are working with the people to be active, as active member of the communities. Right now we can see many refugees have activities, very active in the community. They have shared cultures, they are doing their events, and they are working with different places. Also, we are creating a local system and promote local activity that's not only serve the refugees, but it is for entirety of the communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirsha. And I just want to highlight two parts of what Shirsha was talking about there that really are a huge part of our work, and that's housing and employment. So on the housing portion of it, a lot of our work goes into finding and identifying safe and affordable housing. That is one of the top struggles for us, as it is one of the top struggles for many people here in Vermont and many of the various social service agencies here in Bennington. So what we do when we do identify safe and affordable housing is we set up that housing mainly using donations sourced from the community. As Shirsha mentioned, we also provide a culturally appropriate warm meal, and we make sure that the pantry is stocked with food so that no one is in any danger of having a lack of food, and we do our best to get a culturally appropriate food list. There are a number of Afghan people here in Bennington who have taken it upon themselves to make those warm meals for other members of the Afghan community who are arriving, and as other nationalities and other groups become more established, we expect them to do something similar, and we've already started to experience that, which has been really wonderful. If you're interested in knowing more about what items we take as donations, this is your QR code. You can also contact any of us. Our information will be on the screen at the end. You can let us know that you'd be interested in knowing more about what donations we're looking for at any given time and having a better understanding of the kinds of things that we accept. One of the biggest steps towards self-sufficiency is finding employment, and we do a lot of work in that realm. On the general national level, something that I think is really important to understand, Shirsha was mentioning that when someone arrives, they get signed up for all the relevant state services, but the programs that we run and the goal of the refugee resettlement programs are for people to be self-sufficient in every sense of the word as soon as possible after arriving to the United States, and that includes no longer needing state services. There was a study that was recently completed about 15 years of refugee resettlement, and in total, refugees contributed almost $124 billion in net contributions to state and local governments. So that's not gross, that's net. That's after all of the federal and state support that people receive when they first arrive. The net contribution is $124 billion, almost, in 15 years. Here in southern Vermont, refugees have, and this number keeps going up so quickly, I'm not sure exactly how accurate this is, but about $4 million in taxable wages since resettlement began. I'm 99.9% sure it's quite a bit higher than that at this point. Here in the Bennington area, there are refugees employed in more than a dozen businesses, and since resettlement began, refugees have found employment at over 24 different locations within Bennington. We're always looking for new employment partnerships, and we within ECDC are able to provide certain supports around cultural understanding, communication, and general knowledge about refugees and their backgrounds. We also do work very closely with the Vermont Department of Labor, and I would like to invite Erin from the Department of Labor to talk a little bit more about the specific ways that the Department of Labor's programs can help support someone who's starting off in the U.S. workforce for the first time.
Thank you, Jack. So I'm Erin. I work at the Vermont Department of Labor, and I work very closely with ECDC, working on employment within the refugee resettlement efforts here in Bennington. So what I'm going to talk about is two of the main services that we offer under one of our programs that have been really, really beneficial in leading people to become self-sufficient within their employment endeavors in the area. So the Department of Labor works under a federal grant. It's called the WIOA program, it's Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And under that federal program, there's a lot of really great services that can help people become self-sufficient with employment and training. Two of the main programs that we utilize with that funding are what's called a work experience, and that's a really great short-term program that allows us as a state entity to pay someone wages for a short-term period of time. It's 10 weeks, and it is at the state minimum wage, so for Vermont, that's $13.67 an hour, I believe. And what we do is we match them with an employer that has a need for them, it can be a real position, like one that they've been recruiting for, or it can just be like one that will help them develop their skills. And we've had really, really great successes with some local employers and there's at least one individual who is still currently employed after completing his work experience successfully. And there's another really great program that we offer. It's called an on-the-job training contract, and that has been successful in the past. I have not personally worked under it, but there have been people who have previously done it before I started working here, and it allows them to complete specific training hours in a occupation, and the training is done with the employer to figure out exactly which areas they need work on, and then we can reimburse the employer for a certain amount of that training, and then in the end, hopefully, they're offered a permanent position, or at the very least, they get a really, really great reference and something to create their resume with. And something else I'd like to add is we have a lot of folks here who come with such great skills, and they're able and willing to start their own business, and they'd love to contribute to the community here by starting their own business. So with that, I would like to introduce Ms. Sarguna Jalalzoy, who is going to talk more about that.
Thank you very much, Erin. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time and attention as we present the key project of ECDC today. And despite of our ongoing daily activities, I would like to take this opportunity to discuss two significant projects of ECDC as we have recently initiated. First project is Global Women Entrepreneurs, and the second is Conversation Partner Project. In the beginning, I would like to thank our colleagues, Mr. Saeed Qasim Sadat. I want to introduce them, and Ms. Megan Atwood and Ms. Madina Mehrabi, as they supported me for their implementation of this project. And the first project is Global Women Entrepreneurs. We made the plan for vocational and technical projects implementation that was include of culinary arts and cosmetology, tailoring, and healthcare, information technology, computer user support specialist, network support technician, construction trade, and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning service technician, automotive mechanic. But this project is just one part of those plan as we started the implementation. But we have the plan to expand our projects, and we want to have like have good services and prepare the refugee to attend it in these projects and learn something, and we want to implement it all these projects. And this project of Global Women Entrepreneurs, this is the supported by grant from the Vermont Community Foundation, Women's Fund, and in partnership with the Bennington Community Market, we could implemented this project. And our goal from this project is to support the refugee with the limited English skills, and the prior do not have the skills of work from their own country, to support them, to help them, and to start their own businesses. And another, we want to, they should be financial independent, and we would like that to support them and help them to have fast integration in the new community, and they should decrease their reliance on the government assistance, and they will have the chance for more employment, and they will adapt their self for the new culture, and also they will have like exchange of culture with the community market. They will learn something, and they will also present their food and their culture to the community market. As this project is just in the, now we started in the kitchen section, and this at the end of this project, they will have two certificates. One certificate for the kitchen section, and the second certificate they will have for the food safety. And at the end, the community market promised to support them to for the license. If they have their own license, they can start their own business too. So the procedure was like this, that we started this project meetings with the refugee, and after that we collect their interest about this section. Then we started meetings with the community market. Then we concluded one plan, and we came to reach to the one plan that this refugee will have 2 days per week for 6 hours the training in the kitchen section, and after that, after 6 months, they will receive their certificates. The second project is the Conversation Partner Project. This project also matches native and non-native English speaker for informal conversation. Our goal is from this project that refugee from diverse background to enhance and improve their English languages, and after that they will have opportunity for secure employment, and they will adapt themselves soon in the new environment. With this project also we had a simple form to fill out by the refugee. We received the application from the refugee, and meanwhile we have the application from the volunteers. After that we start the matches of refugee with the volunteers that according their time and according their background. So after that we start the matches, and we start the implementation of this project. Tomorrow we will have our first meeting with volunteers and the refugee, and we will introduce the refugee to the volunteers, and they will start the Conversation Partner Program. And after that we will do the monitoring, and weekly wise and monthly wise we will calculate our success rate according the availability of the time of the volunteers and the improvement of language skills of refugee. And at the end, I just want to thanks from Mr. Jack, because he provided more opportunities to us, and he supported for implementation of these programs and projects. As after Taliban came to Afghanistan, I was for 3 years at home. After 3 years, I started work with ECDC on 10th of June, as I had 18 years diverse work experience. But now I am appreciated, Mr. Jack, for supporting us to implementation of this project and give us the chance that we can use our experience here, and we have his support. Now I want to deliver the floor to Ms. Sara Al-Junabi. She is the finance assistant and the office manager of ECDC. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Sarah Janabi, originally from Iraq. I arrived in Bennington last March, and it's been like less than 4 or 5 months for me. So my part now, I will talk about community garden. So the community garden is one of the fruitful projects that we have done with the help of master gardeners, and we planted one of the areas in the garden by the Rec Center, and it was collective efforts by the refugees, master gardeners, and ECDC. Even though the area was very small, as you see, but the results was so great. And actually, master gardeners, they provide the guidance, the directions, and the instructions, and they provide us with all help that we need, the plants and the seeds. And actually, without their presence, we would never have our fruit harvest. So I will leave the rest of the details for Madame Marta from Master Gardeners to talk about the project.
So what you're not seeing here in the pictures is that mid-April, cold, Sarah had only been here a month, and we're out in the garden looking at dirt. And she's frantically on her phone trying to find the right emoji or the right translation to get the vegetables that she wanted to plant. That's one thing you didn't see. You also didn't see when they went 4 of them together. It was after work to turn over the grass that had grown pretty fast in their plot, this high, and turn it over to be able to plant all the donated vegetables that you see. You aren't seeing here Miss Martha. Is this a weed? No, it's your okra. It hasn't grown very big yet. It is just amazing to see the initial pictures and what is there. And that gardening there at the Bennington Community Garden led them to
Actually, after the success in the community garden, we had an offer from St. Peter's. They offered their garden, which was raw land without any using and nobody taking care of. So we had the chance, with the help, of course, with master gardeners, with some volunteers from the community and the refugees, and we planted this area. And as you see in the pictures, how it was great, and it was really fruitful. And here, as I really would like this idea to spread out in the town, and we kind of working on this project to make it like bigger and extension. This idea to use or make use of each garden or land that is oral, and we can transfer it into small gardens, of course with the help with master gardeners and some volunteers, where we can work on these small gardens this fall and prepare them for next summer and give them for each person who would like to have their small gardens or to plant by their hands. The fact that we are like a real example of how it was a great effort and how it was helpful for us to plant our own fruits, our own vegetables. So the things that we can transfer the society from consumers to producers and to help people in the community to have like self-sufficiency. And the thing that actually there is a very nice quote from one of my favorite actors, what's her name? Ori Harpon. It's like you plant a garden that you think about tomorrow. Probably Martha would like to talk a little bit about St. Peter's Garden.
Yes.
Yes.
So the day that
Martha,
Yes.
would you please speak into the mic?
Sure. The day that we went to, I thought my camp director voice carried. The day that we went to St. Peter's Garden, we had people show up really excited. There were gloves strewn over here, and there were tools over here, and there were lots of weeds. And they went, and they started pulling, and more people were showing up, and more people were showing up. The community that is this organization came together, created and planted, from children who put in his first eggplant to adults who were working to clear out that area. We even got Lebanese squash in 48 hours so that we could plant them. I had them plant 2 per hill because, you know, sometimes these seeds don't come up. Every single one of them did. So the next time, which was supposed to be a weeding day, they cleared out a whole nother area so they could take the squash and transplant it there. Gardening is a skill that they have all learned. There were people who were there at the community garden who were then teaching others how to garden. It's a skill that nurtures people's bodies and souls. And the vision of being able to grow and support oneself and your family through growing your own food is part of one of the small parts that this organization does. And we as Master Gardeners are honored to be part of it and to work in collaboration with them. And we will continue to do so as these gardens spread throughout Bennington. I'd like to...
Okay. Thank you. So now my colleague Medina Mahrabi will talk about her project, which is English Explorers.
Hello everyone, I'm Medina Mahrabi. I have bachelor's degree in law. And
Medina, can you speak directly into the mic?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm Medina Mehrabi. I have a bachelor's degree in law and I'm working as a case manager at the ECDC office. As Rev. Francis Drake said once, that great things have small beginnings, and beside all the responsibility that I have as a case manager, I have realized that majority of refugees have limited English skills, and which makes them unable to solve their problems, routine problems. Therefore, we have launched a program by the name of English Explorer to help individuals with limited English skills. And I had decided to have this program once a week, and after first meeting, they requested we want to have this meeting twice a week, and then after that, they have requested me again we would really love to have this meeting 3 times in a week. So we really, I think they really love to learn more, and I'm also really enjoying. And for this program, we really have decisions to provide them certificates, and then, we have the programs in Tuesday and Thursday in 1 week. And I just wanted to take a moment to express my sincere and gratitude for support, Sir Jack. You're incredibly valuable for us. And I really appreciate all the opportunities you have provided for us. And thank you for being such inspiring and supportive manager. And I would like to invite Megan to let you know about the program curriculum that she helped me to create it.
So before English Explorers started, Medina and I worked on creating materials to help individuals who may not be literate and have very limited English skills. So we made flashcards and practice writing sheets and other specially made materials in Dari. For example, we made the vocabulary packets with themed chapters. Each page looks something like this, with an image and then the word written in English and Dari. For right now, the majority of our specially made materials are for Dari speakers, but more languages can be added in time as we hope the program will grow.
I want to thank all of my colleagues who presented about the work that they've undertaken. It is a testament to their involvement and commitment that the majority of people, of the full-time staff of ECDC, I'm the only person who didn't arrive to Bennington as a refugee. And what you see in many of these programs is the commitment of many other members of the refugee community who are interested in finding ways to not only contribute to the community, but to take incredibly active roles in their own adaptation to the United States. So with a program like English Explorers, we are incredibly thankful for the Tutorial Center and all of the support that they have through their English classes. This program exists because there are people who are interested in practicing English even more. And as you heard, 1 meeting a week was not enough, 2 meetings a week is not enough. People really want to find ways to learn. If you are interested in supporting the work of ECDC in Bennington, we invite you to donate. This is our internet fundraising link. And if you want to know more about any of these programs or any of the other work that we do, you can contact us. These are our email addresses. Please feel free to take a picture, write them down, and get in touch if you want to be a conversation partner, if you want to help out at the next garden day, if you want to be a classroom assistant at the English Explorers so that we can expand it to 3 times a week. Please write in. I do want to note that we have 2 days coming up where we are going to be having some events. So Jonah did a great job giving us the rundown of the activities that are coming up this weekend, and as a complement to that, I mentioned that our office is in downtown Bennington at 120 Union Street on Saturday alongside the Food Truck Festival and the other festivities, and on Sunday alongside the Battle Day Parade and other festivities. We are going to have 2 community painting days for murals that are going to go on the outside of our building, which many of you may know as the Old Berkshire Dance Studio. We will be putting designs on the front of the building and preparing the side of the building for another community painting day. Those days we will have an open house from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on both days, days, and the painting will be from 1 to 6 on Saturday and from 10 to 6 on Sunday. There'll be food, there'll be music, there'll be art activities. There's a lot. Feel free to drop by anytime this weekend to see the office, to participate in the activities, and to just say hi and get to know some people. So thank you very, very much for having us, and we're really happy to give this update.
Any quick questions? Board? Anyone from the select
I do
board?
have a quick question. I know we're running really late on time. I know, when we met last time at ECDC's office, there were so many people that came with really advanced degrees that didn't translate. Is there any movement in that?
No.
No, okay, thank you, that's it.
Well, yeah, that is a significant challenge. So we'd spent a lot of time in this presentation talking about some of the people with more significant barriers just to English language. There are a lot of people who arrive, and you met many of them this evening, who have advanced degrees, who have extensive professional backgrounds, but that does not always translate to the United States. So there are a lot of people who do have higher education degrees from universities that it's hard to transfer as a recognized credential into the United States. And that's, unfortunately, at least as of now, as far as I know, that's not something we have a lot of control over, but it is something for all of us to know and to advocate around, because there are a lot of people who want to continue their education here in the United States as well.
Thanks.
Great. Nancy?
Yeah.
Jack, I thought it was very informational when most of the board and one of our state reps was able to get together, I think, in June with some of our new neighbors. Are you advertising any types of meetings where citizens know they're welcome to go and talk and meet people like we did?
I would invite anyone to get onto our mailing list. You can send us your email and you'll be on it, and we send out monthly updates there. We also have monthly volunteer meetings. That would be a venue for anyone who's interested in knowing more. They are on the fourth Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. And the same would go for any of our community events. The painting days that are happening on Saturday and Sunday would be a great chance to come down and meet people. So, yes.
Okay. I had
Any other questions for the board?
June's got a question first.
It's also fine if your question's not for me. It's also fine if it is.
I actually do have one for any of you too. I'm just curious, the process, when you began your presentation, you talked about becoming a refugee. How long does that process take? And I'm sure it's different for everyone, but on average?
It would be hard to say on average. Here in Bennington, many of the people who've arrived are Afghan and evacuated as part of the emergency evacuations, and so we're on a much shorter timeline than many refugees and refugee families. It can be an incredibly lengthy experience.
Okay.
There have been people who came to Bennington after spending almost 2 decades in refugee camps.
As it should be, it sounds like the refugees are taking a very active role in developing programming and coming up with ideas, and I think that's really fantastic because no one knows better than they're having their own personal experiences. And this is kind of personal, and if it's inappropriate, don't answer. I'm just always amazed and curious how you're feeling. Do you feel supported? Do you feel hopeful? Are you frustrated? Are you all of the above? I'm very curious and care very deeply about how you're feeling being here.
You know, I'm feeling very well because when I arrived here, I found that independency, especially for women in Afghanistan. There is no chance of school now, no chance of job now, and there is no education. Even women cannot get out from home to the market, and they cannot go by taxi alone. They cannot go if they are sick, they cannot go to the doctor alone because this is the big challenges we face to that. And of course, that I am very happy, but I am really very sad for the women, especially educated women, that still they are in Afghanistan. But I am really very sad for their condition. But of course, that like me, other girls and women are very happy because I am, as a woman, I am feeling very well. But when I came to this community, I really faced to the more welcome. Like if I saw the people on the street, everyone respect us, and they gave us the chance like as a human. I spent for 2 years in Turkey to process my work to come to the United States, because United States told me to go to the third country. After that, they processed my work because there was no procedure started from Afghanistan evacuation. So in these 2 years, more than 2 years, when I stayed in Turkey, I really faced with more problem because they didn't leave us to live over there. Because each time we faced the threat from the Turkey government, from the Turkey people. Even though if you want to talk to our own languages, they didn't give us the permission. They look as like they were very upset that why you cannot talk to the Turkish language. So in these 2 years, I have to learn Turkish language. So at that time, it had bad effect on my English language. So because I have to forget English and learn another language, because I already talk to the Pashto and they're in our own country and English. So when I came here, now I feeling very safe here, but still we have one problem because half of our family is still over there. Because when I came here, the U.S. government knows that the security condition is not good for me in Afghanistan. Of course, this is not good for my children. Still, I have my 2 children in Turkey, my 1 daughter and one of my son. And my daughter is a student of medical faculty, and my son studied with American University of Afghanistan, computer science. But all of the family is like this. But because they were above 21 years old, so they couldn't join me in my cases. We have one request from the government of United States. When we are safe here, but still our thing is over there with our family. If our family join us, of course we will be comforted and there will be no issue for us, because here is the opportunity of education, opportunity of work. As I told you, after 3 years I started work again. Because I was excited to again join this meeting. Otherwise, I was a senior advisor to the National Assembly, but I was stayed at home. So I am very happy to come here, and I really feel very well here, and I thinking that I am very secure here. I was there was many problem on my mind. Now I am grow up again, and I am built my career again, and I want to be integrated in this community. Thank you very much.
And I will just mention that's not, unfortunately, a unique story. There are many people who are waiting for family members who are not here in the United States. I think that's something else that the event that Nancy mentioned, that was a common theme. There's a lot of people who are waiting for a lot of people.
Any questions from the audience? Can we move to the audience? Nancy, you have one more?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead. Nancy, go ahead.
Jack, because of the housing situation in Vermont, I want to ask about numbers. Mm-hmm. Has the state or governor committed to take in a certain number of people each year from other countries?
Not that I know of.
Okay, I thought I read last year the governor was cutting back because of the housing issue. So I don't know if each county is like someone like you is hoping to bring a certain number of people each year. Do you have an idea each year going forward for 4 or 5 years what you're looking at for numbers?
No, because they are reassessed on an annual basis through consultation with local communities.
And they're not on the county level. We are a resettlement community, so actually the state sets those.
Right, so it goes through, it's called PRM, the Office of Population, Refugees, and Migration at the State Department. They work with the different resettlement sites and assess the community capacity, and they also hopefully listen to people like us who talk about, hey, there's a real housing shortage in Vermont, or there's this program in Vermont that opens up more housing opportunities for people, or whatever the case may be, to understand not only the overall numbers of people, but also what family sizes might be the best fit for a certain kind of community based on what housing is available or what kinds of jobs are available. So it really is a back and forth between a resettlement site, the headquarters of the resettlement agency that is operating in a community, and the federal government.
And is the resettlement community Bennington County or the town of Bennington?
Bennington, the town, is the resettlement site, and then for the reception and placement program, there's a 50-mile radius around the site within the state where you could find a housing situation for someone when they first arrive. Does that make sense?
All right. Anyone from the community have a question? No? All right. Well, we thank you all very, very much for coming. It's good. Hi, Natalie. Thank you for your patience.
Sure, no problem, no problem. Good evening, everyone. I'm Natalie Basil. I'm the director at Greater Bennington Community Services, which is located just across the street at 121 Depot Street. I mainly want to talk to you about an event that we're bringing this weekend called Remote Area Medical. It's a free dental, vision, and medical clinic. First come, first serve, no ID required. So I'm going to get to that, but I wanted to just briefly give you an overview for folks who may not be familiar with our organization, or maybe are familiar with one of our programs but didn't know that it was housed under our umbrella. So our mission at GBICS is to advance the health of our neighbors by helping them meet their basic human needs, including access to food, shelter, and health care. We do this through 3 primary programs. The free clinic, the kitchen cupboard, and the emergency needs fund. To give you a brief overview, we're an organization that has its roots 50 years ago. The interfaith community came together and created the Food and Fuel Fund. So you may be, if you're longtime residents of Bennington, remember the Interfaith Food and Fuel Fund. In 2001, that group got a large donation that allowed them to think about becoming a nonprofit, and they began that process. Then in 2008, Dr. Dundas, many of you, again, if you're longtime members of the community, he may have been your medical provider, retired from primary practice but still wanted to serve the community, and approached this group and asked about developing a free clinic in Bennington. So with those two, the Food and Fuel Fund and the clinic coming together, it allowed an opportunity for a larger umbrella organization known as Greater Bennington Interfaith Community Services was created. While folks were at the clinic, folks began seeing that they needed food and started a small food cupboard. They began exploring becoming a network partner with the Vermont Food Bank, and in 2011 rented a place on Gage Street and developed a food distribution program called the Kitchen Cupboard. In 2017, the board purchased the building at 121 Depot Street, and we were able to combine all of our programs under one roof for the first time in that timeline. In 2021, we, noticing the needs of the community changing, changed the name of the Food and Fuel Fund to the Emergency Needs Fund so that it could reflect the evolving needs of the community. And then finally, finally, in 2022, we did change our name. We dropped Interfaith. We still have a deep, deep connection with the interfaith and the faith communities, but it was becoming very confusing. I was getting several calls about pastoral care on a regular basis, and that wasn't within my purview. So we decided to drop the interfaith and go with keep the GBICs and keep going. So our 3 programs, as I mentioned, we do have a free clinic. We provide medical and primary care for uninsured and underinsured individuals, adults 16 plus. It's all volunteer, nurses and physicians. We have 1 part-time clinic manager, a nurse, Eileen Rice. We are open every Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m., the 3rd Monday of each month from 10 to noon, and then we do a reproductive health clinic quarterly that offers pap smears and referrals for mammograms. We annually provide medical care to over 300 patients a year from Bennington County. That's Bennington proper, as far north as Manchester, Dorset area, and down to Pownal. Our kitchen cupboard is our food distribution site. There's no eligibility requirement. If you need food, you are welcome to come. 1 time a week. We do have a limit in that, but that's the only limitation we have. We are open Tuesdays, 3:30 to 6:30, Thursdays 10 to 6, and Saturdays 10 to noon. Currently, we serve about 380 households a month, which is about 1,000 individuals. Again, we serve mostly Bennington town, but we do have folks from the Arlington area, Pownal, Searsburg. We have folks come from Marlborough, so a number of different places in southern Vermont. To give you a sense of the increased need that we've been seeing, in 2022, from June to July of 2022, we had 2,369 shopper visits. This last year, 2024, that same time frame, 5,834, which is 2.5 times the number that we saw 2 years ago. The needs in our community are great, and they're real, and they're increasing. And finally, our Emergency Needs Fund, which provides financial assistance to individuals and families experiencing emergency or urgent situations, primarily related to heating, fuels, and housing. This is entirely community funded. We are not state funded. We are a private organization, so all of our funding for this Emergency Needs Fund is fundraised from the Bennington and greater community. So we do ask folks to go to Brock first to use the state funding, but we often see folks who are in that middle gap, that they're not eligible for state funding, or they make just a little bit outside of that, but they still need help. In 2023, we did assist with over $40,000 of financial assistance towards fuel, housing, and heating, fuel, utilities, and housing. And we provided over $125,000 in assistance across our 3 programs. That includes the food that we purchased to be available to folks, as well as labs and x-rays that folks may need at our clinic to have done at the hospital. So seeing the need being so great, and we also saw happening within our clinic is that a lot of primary care offices were closing, a lot of dental offices stopped taking Medicaid and Medicare, and so we were seeing a large amount of need. We began thinking about both systemically the problem, but also the folks who were needing care right away. And we have partnered last year for the first time with a national nonprofit out of Tennessee called Remote Area Medical, or RAM. And last year we hosted our first ever in Bennington, and also first ever in Vermont, RAM clinic. We were the first time that RAM has to be invited by the community, and we are the furthest kind of north that they've been. So we had our first clinic last year at the middle school. You may see these flyers up and around on social media or in town. And it was successful last year, so we wanted to offer it again. So what RAM does and provides for us is 4 RAM staff members help us throughout the planning process. They provide a clinic coordinator, a volunteer coordinator, a communications team, and then the CEO also comes to the clinic. They provide us with core volunteers. These are volunteers who lead each of the different clinic areas, and then they also offer core and training. These are folks who want to become core volunteers, and they go through several clinics in order to get the experience. This is free of cost to us. Somewhat. So we don't pay for any of these staff or these volunteers. They come for free. What we pay for is the lodging for them to come and the meals during their stay here. And then all of the logistics that go into what is needed on site. So these folks come, it's a turnkey production, meaning they bring all of the equipment and they bring all of all the dental equipment, the vision equipment, all of the tenting that's needed to set up a clinic. To give you a sense, we are on the cusp of this happening this weekend. Last year, we were able to have 10 dental providers that included hygienists and dentists. The services we do provide for dental are extractions, fillings, cleanings, and x-rays. For vision, it's vision exams, and they also make eyeglasses on site, so you can take those home with you, all free. And then wellness exams and women's health exams as well. Last year, we were able to recruit 10 dental providers, 16 medical providers, which includes our nurses, 2 vision providers that you can see, general support, folks who help with data entry and registration, folks who help with hospitality, and then folks to set up and take down the event. We were able to work with the Department of Health. A great colleague, our former district director there, Megan Harrington, and I worked together with the Office of Professional Standards in the state of Vermont to create a pathway for out-of-state dental and nursing providers to receive a temporary Vermont license for pro bono purposes to be able to attract out-of-state dentists and nurses, knowing that that's part of our struggle here in Vermont, is having enough dental providers. So through that process, we were able this year to recruit 40 hygienists and 40 dentists and hygienists. I think it's like 32 dentists and 8 hygienists is what we're looking at this year, which is significant. You'll see when I talk about numbers how many more people we'll be able to see this year. One of the things that afforded us is that the University of Buffalo dental program was able to send dental residents as an externship here, like they do in other, like Battenkill Valley, the FQHC has some dental externs as part of their program. These folks will come here and provide services and care. And the remainder of our volunteers look pretty on steady with where we were last year, but the dental ones we're very proud of that. So they bring in this really big truck, and that's where all the equipment is. That truck, once we unload it on Friday into the middle school, will then become the vision lab. So it has equipment inside, they pull it around, and that's where the eyeglasses are made. You can see it has 2 levels, so it has a raising, it goes up and down. So it's stuffed to the gills. This is the inside of the gymnasium last year. This was our dental floor. We had 10 dental tents. Each of those tents has a dental chair and all of the equipment needed. There is in the middle between those two is an air purification system that they have in place. So it has tubing and all these machines that is circulating the air in and out of those to keep it moving. And then back behind all of those tents is the dental sterilization site. And so that's where all of the equipment goes once it's used to be sterilized and brought back onto the floor. Folks are triaged at the beginning into 3 categories: if they need by a dentist, if they need extraction, fillings or cleanings, and then they're put into a different area and called into the different areas as the patient before them finishes. So last year we saw 173 unique people come through that day, that 2-day period, which they had 242 encounters, meaning some folks got to go to more than one area. So there are 161 adults, 12 children. So we do offer dental and vision services for children if you know folks who are looking. This is where they were primarily from, majority from Vermont, but we did have some from New York. A lot of that is because there was a clinic over in Greenwich that was happening for the 2 years prior. So some folks started coming here because they needed to move that clinic further north. You can see the different zip codes that people came from. We asked, the RAM asks this information, why they attended. Availability, service, and free are your top two. Not surprised. And then they asked a question about insurance. And so you can see that the majority of folks who came did have health insurance, but don't have dental or vision, which we know to be very true for many of us. This is one I wanted to share with you because I feel like there's a lot of myths in the community about employment status and who's seeking care. The majority of people who came to this clinic were employed either full-time or part-time. So I just want to make sure that that information is really prevalent into the community, that this is a systemic issue. People who have insurance or have access to jobs where they might be able to access insurance are still, because of the lack of accessing dental providers and primary care providers, coming to the clinic to seek care. So I wanted to tell you about it. We're expecting even more people this year, or we are able to see more people this year at the clinic. So if you yourself are in need, please come. We do recruit interpreters, and so if you are not, English is not your first language, we have folks there who hopefully we will be able to speak to you in the language of which you prefer. And if you need care and you know somebody who needs care, please send them. Middle school, it's from 6 a.m., starting at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning. It'll close around 6 p.m. and then reopen on Sunday at 6 until about noon is when they'll shut down. So a day and a half. If you're interested, we are still seeking volunteers. If you yourself are interested, you can go to the website ramusa.org to volunteer, particularly Sunday. We're looking for general volunteers, but we are also seeking either individuals or an organization who could help us staff our parking lot overnight. Because it's free, first come, first serve, no ID required. Some folks arrive early to get a ticket, to get in line, and so we do have the parking lot at the middle school open. We have portable toilets and hand washing stations there, so if folks do want to arrive early, they have access to those facilities. But we are looking for some folks who can help volunteer over the overnight hours, just to provide information to folks, help them feel welcome as they come in until the clinic does open the next morning. We are also looking for folks who would like to help distribute some fresh produce. We have partnered with the Vermont Food Bank, who is going to provide fresh produce for us to give out to folks on their way through the clinic, and so we can get some fresh produce in the hands of folks who also may need it. So that is what I wanted to talk with you about. I'm available for questions. I know you're running behind, so.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you, Natalie. Questions from the board? Nancy.
Yeah. The kitchen cupboard. People who live in New York and Mass, are they able to come to the kitchen cupboard in Bennington?
They are. The only thing they're not eligible for is any food that we receive through the TFAP program, which is a federal program, and you have to reside in Vermont for that.
That's it? Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have that one.
Yes.
Did you have to turn anybody away last year?
Did we have to, from the clinic?
Yep.
We did have to turn people away for dental. We had more people looking for dental services than what we could take. The great part about working with the RAM folks is they've been doing this for over 30 years. They have a system to know about how many people can get through based on the number of providers we have. So we did have to turn people away. You are eligible for one. Everyone gets medical, and then you choose between dental and vision. We were able to offer those folks vision services instead, and we were able to offer some of the folks the ability to come back the next day for the dental if they didn't get it on Saturday. We're hopeful that this will be a full dental floor. We can have up to 20 tents available. And so this will double the dental floor that we had last year. We're really hopeful that we'll be able to see anyone who comes in for a dental need with this many providers.
I'm just going to follow up. So if anybody's waiting for an extraction out there now, they could come to this instead, is that?
Yes.
I'm just kind of putting that out there. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool, thanks.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
Natalie, Jeannie explained a little bit of your program to me as we were preparing for tonight's meeting.
Oh, yeah.
The presentation that you just made, short, concise, but so full of information. This community could not have possibly understood what it is that you're providing without seeing this. So I encourage folks at home and anybody that did see it or hear it to replay it for pieces that they may have missed or want clarity on. Terrific program, so needed in our community. I just wanted to thank you.
Oh, yes. We're thrilled that we found RAM. They're a great partner, and we're so glad to be able to be getting people care, because every day we're getting phone calls from folks. Every day, especially for dental.
The fact that you picked up the phone and made this happen for our community is huge.
Oh, well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, we're trying. Well, and I have colleagues over in Brattleboro, and I have some colleagues up in the Northeast Kingdom that both don't have free clinics in their area, who this type of program could be life-changing for many, that we're trying to get into those two communities as well. So there'll be representatives from those locations at the clinic on Saturday to meet with RAM to see what might be possible.
Super. Questions from the audience? Yes. Come on. Wait. I'm sorry. You have to be at the microphone so Cat TV can hear you. And also, please just state your name.
Marcia Quackenbush. I would like to know if you are planning to hold the Empty Bowls event this year.
Yes. Early November.
Great question. Okay. Other questions? No? Thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you.
It's amazing. All right. This has been an amazing meeting. Thank you all. All right. Now, back to the boring stuff. Policy review. And I know I sent out this to the select board earlier, but I printed out a copy of the mess that our policy adoption dates are currently in. So I'm going to turn this over to Stu to talk about policy review. Yeah.
We can wait for a second.
Yeah, if you could. We may need to close the door. Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The chair and vice chair talked to Dan Monks and I about some sort of a policy whereby some 15 various policies, some general policies and some specific to the select board, could be reviewed on an annual basis. And this really is Dan's language, but he has suggested that the board adopt basically a sentence that basically says, "The town manager shall direct town staff to review all select board policies at least once every," and we're recommending 3 years, "and submit a report with any recommended changes to the policies to the board at that time." Now, if you look at the dates these policies have been adopted, they go all the way back to 2013, 2015. Some have not been reviewed at all in all that time. So I think we would start, if the board is agreeable, taking a look at all of the policies that are more than 3 years old, take a quick look through those, try to get those updated to the extent possible and before the board for readoption, and then try to get on a schedule where we take them on every 3 years or so. So that would be our recommendation. I don't know whether the board would like a shorter time frame or a longer time frame, but as you can see, some of these policies have been around for a long time.
Okay. So I think let's just have general discussion. I mean, either about the idea at all, or 3 to 5 year time frame, or any place. Yes, Nancy.
I think it's up to the select board to review the policies and update them. Are you saying you want town staff to do that?
Yes, we would do that and provide recommendations to the board, as opposed to individual members of the board having to sit down and try to do that.
I would much rather the board look at 3 or 4 policies at a meeting, get them caught up, and then I would think they'd be fine for 5 years unless people feel there's an issue. But the select board is the one that has approved all these policies in the past, and I certainly wouldn't want to pass that off to town officials.
So I don't think the idea is to pass that off. I think what we're saying is that we make $107 a month, and we have to think about how many hours we are doing this. What the staff would be doing is taking the first look through and saying, okay, this policy, here's what we know about state law, here's what we need to update, and then we're looking at the policy, so we can take up anything else that's on that policy. But this is a way to not have us, I mean, if we looked at a policy, we wouldn't be able to review it because we'd need staff to tell us what's changed.
There's no way we could review 3 or 4 policies.
So it's not giving up our responsibility, it's having them do that first look. And if they came back and said, we don't think there should be any changes in this policy, we would still look at that policy, but this is a front load so that we know what is necessary to make sure we're in compliance with our own, with our own standards and also with state law. But I think there's also some there's probably some cross work that has to be done in terms of policies that we have that may be actually influenced by other policies. Mm-hmm. And so that's where staff's expertise is going to come in.
Well, a couple of years ago, I think for over a year, the board set time aside at each meeting to go through, I don't know if it was each policy or procedure for the police department. And at some meetings, it was like watching paint dry. If the select board could go through every word and every sentence for that, I think we owe it to the people of Bennington to go through these policies, because it is the select board who has always come up with these policies. Now, Stu could pass on the information.
That's what we're talking about, Nancy, is them passing on the information. And for the policies for community policing, those were in large part new policies. Some of those were brand new policies, and others were broadly expanded. And those were brought to us by the IACP. Those were policies that we needed, that a national organization told us we needed to update as a town.
Okay.
But
town staff didn't do it and make suggestions. The board went through all of it.
Yeah. So the board didn't. So we appointed people to policy review groups who then either put the policy in place altogether or reviewed it and updated it, and then it came to us. So we had to adopt each one of them, and in some cases, we made some changes in some of those policies when they came to us.
But time was set apart at every meeting, wasn't it, for well over?
No, it wasn't. No, after each, so I don't remember.
Oh, I can't, there's no way
I don't remember how many policies there were. But as the group, we did one policy at a time, they did one policy at a time, and when they finished, it came to us just like any of the policies have.
Or would.
Yeah.
Or would, and your revision would come to us.
So it's not, so it's exactly the same, instead of the IACP saying, here's what you need to look at in order to be sort of relevant and up to date, we're suggesting staff do that initial look at. So if all the policies are due in the same, they're going to go through all of them and they're going to come back and say, okay, we think the purchasing policy needs to be changed in the following ways. We get the policy and then we review it just like we do all policies.
If I may just remind us
Sure.
that this board or some iteration of this board in the past has hired a very professional, qualified municipal staff. We're not those people. We're here for guidance. We're elected and we supervise the town manager. But for us to be involved in the initial review of a policy, that would be like letting me borrow a law license for the day. I think that is asking for trouble.
Yeah. So we're not giving up our power, if that's the concern.
Well, but I do believe most of the policies we've had in the past have been created by the Select Board. Am I correct, Stu? Now, town officials may take what we come up with.
No, it works the other way around. They, and just as we just did with the communications policy, Jonah came to us. He spent the time to go out and look at other communities. He talked with VLCT, and he came back and he brought us a communications policy, and we looked at it, and some things we wanted changed and other things we thought were perfectly fine. So they do the legwork, and then it comes to us to review. Social media policy was the same way. I don't know, other thoughts on this? Yeah, Jean, go for it.
So is your thought that, and maybe it works better for Stu and the staff the way it is, but are you looking to group them? Like we would look at 5, let's say, and then 5 more in a, or is it easier to have them kind of dribble through the town?
No, so the hope would be to say, they're going to do review of all of these policies.
Prioritizing them by the oldest first.
Yeah, but
right.
I mean, so I would hope that we would say, we want this completed, I'm making it up, by January 15th. We want, by some date certain, we want all of these policies to have been reviewed. But I think doing the oldest ones first, or the ones that we think might be problematic, makes sense, and then set a standard date. So
okay.
Whether it's 3 years, 5 years.
But it'll be all of them in 3 or 5 years. Okay,
yeah.
That's fine. Whatever's easier. I don't really have a preference.
Now, I mean, the reason many of these haven't been reviewed is that nobody's looked.
Right.
I mean, Jonah had to do the research to find out when they were adopted.
Yeah, I guess I would like a little bit of, in the language on when they're to be reviewed in the future, to always have text that says, or if it's really necessary, we need to do it. Yeah, okay. Out of sync.
No later than 3 years or no later than 5 years.
Right, or
earlier
as needed.
I think that's a really good point that Jean's making. If there's a law change or some other trigger of some sort, I think that's really good.
Was that in Dan's language? It was like no later than X number of years?
No, his language is at least once every X number of years.
Okay.
Unless blah, blah, blah.
Well,
if the law changes, you're going to get notice from the league of changes in the law, and we'll take a look at the policies that may be impacted, and so those would happen sooner.
I'm not even thinking it would only be a law change. There could just be some compelling reason that we need to relook at something.
Later than 3 years from last adoption date, or that covers it. Then that means you can open it up tomorrow if you want.
Fine,
yeah.
as long as there's language in there to allow for some
flexibility. And you guys think 3 years is a good amount of time? Staff does?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at policies every year, but I don't think they're going to change that dramatically.
But to that point, Stu, knowing that a review could mean this is our current conflict of interest policy, it doesn't need any update. We all agree, you bring it to the board, we agree, it was a quick exercise. We're not going to rewrite every one of these policies every 3 years.
Right.
Okay.
Does anyone have a concern with standardizing the review dates?
No, I think it's best that way.
Okay. Does anyone have a concern with it being every 3 years?
I like 3 years. I think 3 years is our term, so I think 3 years makes sense.
Okay.
That does make sense.
Yep.
Yep.
And if we felt a need, we could always decide we needed to do it sooner if need be. Right.
If it's no later than 3 years from last review, is that the language?
That's fine, yep.
Yeah, and whatever, and that policies, is it understood then that if you look at a policy and you're like, okay, this looks perfectly fine, nothing's changed, that policy would still come to us for readoption or re-examination, whether you saw any any issue or not.
I would think
right?
if you're going to review them, then you might as well re-adopt them at that time.
Yeah.
Even if there are no
Otherwise, the adopt
changes.
date gets old.
Yeah, then the
3
adopt date
boards
needs
from
to
now
change.
won't know why
Okay.
it's not been reviewed.
Okay. So what do people think about having outside date by when all of these policies should be brought before us with any staff recommendations?
I'm thinking we should be cognizant of workload, like for Michelle, if she's involved in any of these, and I imagine she would be, or that whoever is in that position.
Not so much anymore, but yes. I mean, folks, we're looking at a 4-month window for charter review. Then we settle into the budget process, which takes us into January. Would it take a lot of time for staff to go through all of these very quickly? I would say probably not, but I wouldn't want that deadline to be too soon.
Well, what if it's March? I mean, I'm just thinking, what if this gets done before the next board is seated?
That sounds fair.
So then it would
by-
consistently be March
So
of blah, blah,
March,
blah.
yeah, okay. So by March, I don't know what the last day of March is, March 30th, I don't know how many days are in March.
31.
31?
31 days.
Look at you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to do that little rhyme.
Rhyme is playing in my head.
Okay, so by March 31st,
Okay.
So please clarify for me. Will each of us on the board, say you're doing revolving loan policy, are we going to get a copy of the current policy and what staff is recommending it be updated to say?
Yes. That would be my expectation.
And we're going to do what, like get 4 or 5 at a time?
however they come to us.
All by March 31st.
Yeah, so by March 31st, we will have seen all of them.
I mean, some of these policies, let's face it, have just been adopted within the last year.
Yep.
Yep.
So those we may not be recommending any changes to those, but there are some that go back.
Oh, there are a couple of years ago that we definitely need to hit.
Okay.
So if you can get them, so we're going to say, you're going to get these to us between now and March 31st.
That's the plan, yeah.
2025, and then the next adoption, and then they'll be reviewed by 2028 at the latest.
Yes.
March 31st.
Yes.
Okay.
Is
Does
an
that
ordinance
work?
and a policy the same thing?
Ordinances and policies are not the same thing.
No.
Okay. So I know decades ago, the Select Board approved, was it a noise ordinance or a noise policy?
Noise ordinance.
So we don't have a noise policy?
No.
And that's because an ordinance means something different from,
An ordinance allows for fines and for prosecution of violations.
Okay. Do we have a list of those anyplace?
Yes, we have a 3-ring binder of all of the ordinances of the town in every facility.
And do we know where all the policies are?
Yes, we do.
Oh, well, no, I just know for a while it was...
Yeah. We just found them all.
Well, no, I remember Bruce looked up and found a lot of them, but I didn't know if there were others that were still missing.
Yeah, no, I think everything now has been identified and should be on the website if I'm not mistaken, but I'd have to check with Joan on that to make sure it's all up. All the ordinances are on the website.
Ordinances or policies?
All the ordinances I know are on the website. I don't know
Because those
whether
are
every
enforceable.
policies, but I can believe they are.
Are policies going to be on there?
Yes, I believe they are.
Okay.
As they are adopted, they are added to the website now.
yeah. Yeah, and I think based on this comes from a community member's comment to us that there was an easier way to do this than catch as catch can. So I think the hope is to have the adoption, the list and the adoption dates, and then that will keep us all on track.
I think it's important to note that between 2013, which is the earliest review date on here, and now, the communication tools and the resources that we have are much greater. So storing things on the website, that's the depository, but I can understand why some of these may not have made it 11 years or more ago.
Yeah.
Ed, is your mic turned on?
It is testing.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll speak closer.
All right, so are we ready for someone to make a motion? Can someone make a motion?
What's the motion?
The motion would be to
adopt the ordinances
a standard practice
every 3 years by the town staff, a first review and then second review by the select board. Is that
and adoption?
correct?
Yeah.
And readoption.
And that the review every 3 years be done by March 31st of that year.
Good luck with that, Nancy.
Sorry. How was that for a mushy one?
Sorry about that.
She does take amazing minutes at every meeting.
I apologize. You can't even hear me. I know that.
Now you're buttering me up.
Okay, I know. No, sorry. I know.
I'll second it, though.
Okay.
Any more discussion on this? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Any abstentions? All right, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Stu, please pass along the thanks to the staff who worked on this. I know Jonah's been heavily involved, but I know what a lift this was.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Charter Review Committee report. Begin, Stu.
Yes, our Charter Review Committee met for the first time last Friday, August 9th. They organized, they appointed Jacqueline Matz as chair and Rebecca Sentner as vice chair, and they received training on the open meeting law and on the public records laws from Merrill Bent Town Council. The meeting lasted about 45 minutes. They agreed to initially tackle the charge first. So those things that were listed in the charge would be the charter changes that they would look at first, and then move on to other issues that come before them as they have time to do so. So their next meeting is scheduled for August 23rd, 3 p.m. They'll be meeting Fridays at 3 p.m. on a weekly basis, unless for instance, we have a holiday, such as we do this Friday, where they won't meet. And Dan and I will be the liaisons. Either both of us or one of us will be at every meeting as they work their way through this process.
And will those meetings be televised?
In fact, they are. Jim Verries, who is a member of the committee, was kind enough to bring all of his gear so that he is televising the meetings for replay at a later time.
While he's participating?
While he's participating.
Really?
Really?
It's just a camera pointed
multitasking.
That's impressive. Okay.
That's some technology.
Okay,
right
so
there.
weekly. Wow.
Weekly, yes.
Okay.
Weekly, yes.
They mean business.
Thank you. Weekly.
Thank you. Great. Stu, manager's report.
Yes, I have a number of issues for you.
Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, questions.
Oh, the town office conference room. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that.
The public is invited.
Yes, absolutely. The public is invited.
And a question.
Yeah.
The board is going to have to decide within the next month or two how the proposed changes are going to appear on the ballot for the voters in March?
When is our deadline for that, Stu?
It's the end of November. The committee will finish its work by the end of November, if not sooner, and then it'll be up to the board to decide what changes will go forward and how they will be prepared for the ballot. But I think the intent, Nancy, is to put them on individually.
Okay, but that's not how it was last time.
Well, the last time, remember, Nancy, the last time it was the entire charter that was placed on the ballot. The ballot itself would have been 4 or 5 pages long.
Well, I've never heard of anybody going through an entire charter. That's why they usually do it by sections.
So Nancy, rather than rehashing what happened last time, so we don't have to make that decision until November. Our intention is to put the whole, and we've said this all along, the intention is to put all the changes on the ballot, and we will have time to review it and for the public to comment before we make the final decision on what goes in there. That's part of the timeline, was taking into account getting it on the ballot. So we should be okay.
And when the charter's all done with their work and I'm sure they're keeping track of it in the town office. I still want to know the total cost, because the charter did say the money should have been in the budget for this. So I'm interested to knowing by the time the lawyers and everything else they're going to need assistance and money for, what the total process cost.
I think that's great, because next time we'll be able to budget better.
That'll be helpful.
All right. Anything else on charter review before we move to manager's report? All right. Manager's report.
All right, action items this evening, and I apologize. I believe we have done this already, but the question has come to me before the meeting started. The Food Truck Festival, which is this week, provides for a closing of School Street from Pleasant to Main, and I would like to ensure that the board is in favor of that closing. We've already made arrangements for it, and I know that Sarah sitting here is thinking, didn't we do this? But
Yeah,
because I thought we did it. But,
We did.
But anyway, I'd like to reiterate that we are asking the board to allow for the closing of School Street from Pleasant to Main for the Food Truck Festival on Saturday.
What are the hours of the closure for the public's information?
Oh, dear.
They are from 8 until, I believe, 8 or 7. It's in the minutes from January.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the request to close School Street on Saturday for the Food Truck Festival.
Do we have a second? Second. Any more discussion?
I'm assuming we have one abstention coming because of this.
So any
I'm
more
going to
discussion?
vote, yeah.
Oh, I don't think you can.
I don't think you
You have a
should.
direct financial interest. I think you really should think about recusing.
I'll consider it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I would. You have a direct financial interest in this.
it's for the town.
No, it's a financial, you have direct financial interest. Okay, so anyway, yes.
My standard question, I will assume we're going to have a police department presence during this in accordance with the town ordinances and all. And I guess maybe you would know if the Copsicle wagon will be there. Are there free ice cream? Huh?
They did not wish
That's what I want to know. We got free ice cream?
It's one more food truck.
Yeah, they did not wish to do that this year.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clark, you know where to find them.
Try.
You know where to find them to ask about that.
But if you can talk them into next year.
Okay.
It's hilarious. That's great. Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor.
We do have a motion on the floor. All right. Any other discussion?
Yes, this was approved in January.
Okay. Unfortunately, nobody could find it. So, all right. So, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? No abstentions. All right. All right. So go on to your next item.
Well, thank you. The next is a road closure for Garlic Town, which is occurring Saturday, August 31st. The venue has changed slightly. The parking lot behind the Bennington Station, the former Bennington Station restaurant, is not available this year, so they'll be moving into parking lots off of Depot and North Street, but the road closures remain the same. The request is to close Depot Street from the entrance to the distillery and the public parking lot to the entrance to Jeebix. The public parking lot will be closed from North Street entrance to the Depot Street entrance for the event. It is closed from 5 a.m. until 6 p.m., and all affected property owners have been notified already. So I look for a motion to approve the closures as presented.
For purposes of discussion, I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Great. Any discussion?
Just a comment. I want to thank Shannon Barsati, not Shannon Barsati, Shannon McLenathan for being involved personally in the communication there. That was very necessary, and I know she handled it well. That's all I got.
Discussion.
Diagram?
There's not. There's a, no, we don't, I don't think we have a diagram, but what we have are pretty specific information in the memorandum of understanding?
They did provide a diagram. I didn't attach it to the minutes. It's a very, very small section of Depot Street, which is actually closed. And it's really between the entrance to the public lot and the entrance to GBIX. And that's really the only street closure that is occurring. Otherwise, it's closing of public parking lots, and all of the folks have been notified that they will be closed on that time.
That street closure is greatly reduced from prior years, so they must...
Right, let's just learn about the map.
They must have really fine-tuned their operation for the day.
Is it possible to send out the map so that we all have it, and maybe can we, so then is it okay to include it in the
minutes?
In the minutes, it won't really matter, will it? Well, it will. Yeah, our next meeting is still before.
I could put on some town website or...
Sure thing, we can do that.
Yeah,
okay,
town, whatever.
That'd be great,
Okay.
yeah, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, unanimous.
And this is an interesting question. It's not one I've put before you before, but it has come to me from the town clerk. In order for the justices of the peace who are elected in November to be placed on the mailed ballot, the select board must agree to have the vote for those justices placed on the automatically mailed ballot. Otherwise, the town would have to create a separate ballot for these offices. So the town clerk has asked that you approve that request, and therefore the state will include those justices on the automatically mailed ballot.
I make a motion that we approve the placement of justices of the peace on the state's mailed ballot.
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion?
Yeah, if we didn't do this, would it just mean that you would go into vote and that would be something given to you at the firehouse?
Yes, you would be provided a separate ballot. Unfortunately, it would place extra cost on the town to provide that ballot to you, and also extra cost to program the tabulators to take a second ballot. So there'd be additional cost associated with this question.
I think it would also mean, too, that if people wanted to vote absentee for Justice of the Peace, they'd have to ask Cassie to send them a ballot.
That is true. Thank you, Tom.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Please say no. Nancy's a no. Any abstentions? Right, no abstentions. All right.
And the last thing I have for you is really a circulate for signature. At your last meeting, I'm told, because I was not present, that you approved the rules of procedure, Select Board Rules of Procedure, with certain amendments. These have now been added to the document, and I will just circulate this for your signatures because it has already been approved. So that does not need a vote.
And this document that we referenced earlier gets a nice big updated date on it, right? This says the last time that the Select Board Rules of Procedure was 5/18 of 15.
I think what's going to happen is that's probably going to go away because it was assumed under the new one.
Yeah, this Rules of Procedure will be dated September 22nd, whatever the meeting was, September 22nd. And that would be the time we go forward.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I also have attached in the packet an email from Senator Welch's office, which was attempting to address concerns about non-compliance with the Fair Food Initiative grant monies that came to the town of Bennington. It does indicate that there is no investigation and that they are aware of, and no requirements of compliance or non-compliance that the Welch's office is aware of. So that is attached. I note that for major projects, the Morgan Street Bridge may be paved this week. is ready for paving, and the Benmont Avenue Hunt Street project, I believe, is also ready for paving. There was a sewer repair that had to be done by a private contractor. If that was finished up last week, then that road would be also paved and restriped so that people would understand that there is sufficient access and sufficient lane width for that project. And then there was a question also raised last time about whether the skate park would have an impact or a negative impact on the fire department access. I have attached a memorandum from the chief of police and the fire chief that have found no problems with the proposed skate park at that location, with only one access point onto River Street. And in fact, MSK Engineering has also reviewed the process, and I have attached a memorandum from them which indicates that the service to the parking lot is adequate for access to the lot as well as to protect the fire department when necessary. And just a reminder for you all that next week is our first listening session, which is scheduled for the 21st of August, which is a Wednesday, from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m., or until later if there are a lot of people in attendance. It'll be at this facility here in this room, and it's really just an opportunity for board members to listen to the public who might have suggestions or wish to engage in other than a formal process.
But we do need to remind the public that because the entire select board is invited, it is a public meeting, so minutes will be taken, and we have to comply with open meeting law. So all of those things are in place, but it will not be as formal as this. So.
And there is not an agenda.
And there's not an agenda.
Right.
No. Right.
That's all I have.
Great. Okay. That was enough. All right, so upcoming agendas, the two things we know, as mentioned earlier, because of the several neighborhoods that have commented on speeding in their area or really loud mufflers, or, so what we're trying to do is get from Mark Anders has a lot of information he can share with us on traffic calming measures, what can be done in neighborhoods, and he is trying to, excuse me, look at a couple different neighborhoods here to give us an idea.
Could you tell us who Mark Anders is? What position he holds?
Thank you. Mark Anders is the transportation planner for Bennington County Regional Commission, or BCRC. And so this is his job. So he can help give us options, and the most useful piece of this, I think, one is for all of us to learn, what's out there, but the other is that this would come up at budget time. So if we want to put in, speed tables or bulb outs or whatever we want to do, that has to be something that we actually budget for and think about how we want to do that, given I think we're aware of maybe 5 different communities that have expressed concern, counting tonight's. So, figuring that out is going to be a big deal. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it would be helpful if we had a sense of the areas that he'll be addressing, and we could ride out, not together because that would be a meeting, but we could ride around town to see where he's thinking of focusing his time.
I don't know. So what we have shared with him is that folks from East Road came, folks from South Stream and Beach Street came.
Gage.
Gage and School Street have come up, and also, it's not Monument. It's Monument, Lower Monument. Is it
Monument Avenue? Yeah,
Monument
out beyond Dewey, the intersection with Dewey Street.
And that was the most recent one.
Okay, great.
Before tonight. So those are the area. So this is not supposed to be an exhaustive presentation, but more. He was going to look at a couple of those areas to
I
give
got
some
the sense, though,
information.
Gene, that his presentation is, yeah, he'll cover the areas that he's become familiar with, but I think it's less specific and more...
General?
General.
Oh, okay.
What has proven to be successful calming measures in other communities, et cetera.
Okay.
Because probably we would need to hire BCRC or someone else if we actually wanted to do something in those areas. It wouldn't just be, us saying, oh, we think the table would be great there. Yeah.
And he's probably not going to be able to help us with the noisy mufflers and so on.
Right, but if it's related to speeding.
To speeding, yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I don't fault him for that.
I've been approached by a couple of folks about basically between County Road and Coker Drive seems to be an area of pretty high rates of speed. So
Okay.
County Street,
Oh, yeah.
and Coker Drive, that that dog leg stretch there, that seems to be an area where people like to zip along to. Don't try to back out from the blue bin.
All right. So
It's also a state road, which may mean that there's additional resources available.
Maybe.
For speed control.
Yeah, we were at the Dairy Bar last night, and someone, I swear, was going like 60 miles an hour right by the Dairy Bar.
So not to belabor this issue, but I want to tell you that I was sitting in the BCRC conference room last Wednesday night at an Energy Committee meeting, and for those of you that have never been in that room, it sits right on South Street. The room itself is right on South Street. And the ambulance went by, and we all thought, oh, that was fast. And then a tractor trailer went by faster than the ambulance and shook the entire building. So we have a speed problem throughout town. No question about it.
So we'll start to address it. It won't be the end of it, but it'll be the beginning. All right. That, and then Shires, we have a Shires public hearing coming up. It was warned last week, sorry. So those are the two things that I'm aware of that we have to do, that we're planning to do next meeting. Okay. Other business. Sarah, we'll start with you this time.
No, none for me.
Just one comment. I attended my first Energy Committee meeting last week as liaison for the town. Those guys, that group, terrific group of people that spent a little bit of extra time that night bringing me up to speed. Lots of great work in progress there, so I was grateful to be there and grateful for their extra time, for sure.
I'll just remind everyone, I'm sure I don't need to, that voting is tomorrow. Tomorrow's primary day. You'll see many of us in our roles as members of the Board of Civil Authority checking in voters and performing other tasks. So we will notice if you don't come.
Ooh. Clark?
Hi, I just got back from a road trip out to Yellowstone, and in the process we spent a lot of time in a lot of small towns, smaller than Bennington. And I was duly impressed with a number of downtowns in these little towns that are tourist havens that were a renaissance. Restaurants, stores, traffic. And I was saying to my wife and my sister-in-law, I said, gee, I wish Bennington could do this. But the one sign I saw that I really liked, and it said, I can't remember the town, they're open for business. And maybe, a sign like that coming in out of Bennington saying that we are open for business. But I was impressed with a number of these small towns that their main streets are phenomenal businesses and the environment. And I think we can get there. But it's nice to see what is possible actually happening.
Clark, if I could, you might want to share that with Shannon Barsati, because that's perhaps some language that could be worked into the town marketing plan. I've seen it work in other communities, and as a marketing person, I love it. So I would encourage that.
I was also going to encourage people to vote tomorrow, and I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, there seems like there is a ton of stuff to do this weekend.
Yeah.
So no one should be home. You need to be out, unless it's where you want to be. But we should be out and about. Huh? So we should be out and about visiting with our neighbors and welcoming people to Bennington.
Thank you. Nancy?
4 items. It concerns me to be aware that this year the legislature voted to update some existing laws. They passed at least one bill that's going to have a major impact across the state at the local level, and we on the board haven't talked about any. H-875 is going to be a law where ethical standards for local government officials. It goes into effect January 1st. People are going to be able to file complaints against those elected to serve on select boards, elected town officials. I'm not sure how widespread this will be, if it will include people that we appoint to sit on boards and committees, if it includes people who work for towns. I've read the law multiple times. I have more questions than answers, and we should have already discussed this and understood this. The public, you have new rights now, and you don't even know what your rights are. I know the law has been changed, so citizens can now call a certain number of days in advance and participate from a select board meeting at home. I don't know what will happen in the winter when 20 people sign up early because they're going to get to call into a meeting. So I'm going to make a motion.
You can't make a motion. We're in other business.
Okay,
but
this is what and I brought this up a couple of months ago. The one thing with H-875 that many who supported it are now questioning is the state is mandating this at the local level without providing the local funding. The governor didn't sign the bill, I don't believe. He said he hopes the legislature funds it next year. Ted Brady is the director of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. He supports the idea of it, but he says at the local level, we don't have the resources to pay for it. So again, if the legislature doesn't fund it, how are we going to afford this next year? If they do fund it, where will the money come from? So I'm asking that we get somebody in here from the League of Cities and Towns on a regular agenda to explain H-875, any laws that were updated that we all need to be aware of. We're the select board. We need to know the laws, so we're following the laws and making sure the town officials are following the laws. And I feel we need to let the public know what their rights are.
Stu, I'm thinking that you addressed this already in a manager's report.
Very, very briefly, yes. So we can do it in more detail. Basically, the law requires that select boards and town managers or town administrators, I believe, attend an ethics class once a year. The league, the league is being charged with developing that class so that it can be held probably remotely throughout the year for boards and for managers and administrators of towns. It does not apply to every member of a board and commission. It does not apply to every town employee. But the legislature, for some reason, believes that select board members and managers may not be ethical.
Well, I read that people from...
that's a smart aleck response, but it also means that we want to make sure that everyone is well trained. And, and I will say that as these new board members know, I think you had 5 different trainings, and we do that on a regular basis. I think we're already doing that, so I'm very happy for them to be doing this.
I would put most select boards and administrators and managers up against the legislature anytime.
Oh, okay, let's not go there. All right, so I think the question is, we talked about this, you felt like it shouldn't be in an agenda item, but you could handle it in the manager's report, because it's just what you just said.
I can also tell you that Jonah and Dan have been working to prepare for that eventuality should a member of the board or a member of the public wish to participate remotely in the future, and they give us a sufficient notice, we would be able to have them call in or Zoom in or whatever the process will be. But we're working on that as well.
And the other piece of it is they are working on if there are any budget considerations that we'll need to be looking at in December.
Right, and we'll have to deal with that because we're already into the fiscal year budget, so we'll have to deal with it. We'll find the monies if we have to.
But all of those were already addressed in that manager's report.
I believe so.
Yep.
All right, so number 2, Nancy.
Okay, well, I have a question left. Didn't Jonah go away for a week's of training this winter? Who did he go for training with?
I don't know that Jonah went away for training.
Well, didn't he go away for some, I don't know. He went for training with somebody for several days.
Nancy, that's a kind of question that you call the manager tomorrow and ask him.
I'm concerned that we're sitting here clueless. When did the laws pass for, when does it go into effect, people calling in? Can they call in right now?
January 1, I believe.
Okay.
No, they can call in now.
Can they call in?
Yes, they can call in now. It was July 1.
It's the training that comes, the ethics
Yeah,
training.
July 1. And Dan actually addressed this at last meeting as well. So we have already talked about this. I think if you want to know what training Jonah went to, that's something to call.
So how many days
town
ahead does
manager
a
about.
citizen need to call in if they want to participate from
3,
home?
I believe it was. I believe it was 36 hours. I believe Dan went over this. It's in the minutes, actually, probably.
Okay, then I'll go back.
So I can't remember if it's, I think it's 36 hours, not 48.
It would be
but
great
might
not
be
to
48.
duplicate efforts here, though.
Yeah, but we already had this conversation.
Okay.
You were sitting here.
Okay, then you send me the date so I can read the
I'm not
minutes,
going to
please.
see the date. You can read the minutes from the last couple of meetings and find it.
Okay. Second thing, Benmont Avenue, the day after our last meeting, I spoke with the man who owns Apollo Fuels, the large gas station and propane station on the end of Benmont before you go over the bridge to Northside Drive. I believe he said he has owned the property and business for over 40 years. Apparently 5 years ago, our officials asked his permission to put a pathway on his private property. Because of public safety concerns, he said no. So my question was going to be for Dan, but I'll ask you, Stu. Is the town still trying to put a pathway on his property?
No.
So nothing's going to be on his property at all?
There is a link to the rail trail from Benmont Avenue through. I don't believe that it's on his property because that was formerly the Route 7 right-of-way, which when it was discontinued would have gone half to the adjoining property owners. And I believe we've been working with the other property owner on that. But there is nothing at this point official about it. But there is a crosswalk being installed so that people can cross Benmont Avenue at that location to not only get to the businesses that are there, but also at some point to access the rail trail.
So there's nothing, no pathway, no connector is going to be on his private property?
I don't believe so, no.
And is it true that officials gave him one-day notice that they were going to put the islands on his property?
I don't know about the notice time frame. I do know that the plans were provided to him at some point prior to the installation of the islands.
And the location of the crosswalk, for people who haven't seen it, I don't understand where public safety has been considered. Everybody knows that has a high volume of traffic, cars, trucks, tractor trailers, big trucks.
Can we stop and can you talk, Stu, about the process? Do you know, or maybe this is a Dan question, but do you know the process? We don't decide where crosswalks go.
The entire project that we're looking at was designed by our engineers using grant funds initially that were provided for the Benmont Avenue bike ped safety installations, which will come down Benmont Avenue, will provide a snow shelf or a green grass area, an island between the walkway and the bike path. Right now, you have a painted line on Benmont Avenue that allegedly separates vehicular and pedestrian traffic. This will be much more formalized. This is the first step to create that area. One, it was to make that obtuse intersection at Hunt Street a right-angled intersection so that sight distance will be improved as you come out of Hunt Street onto Benmont Avenue. That project has been in the wings, God knows.
10 plus years.
A lot of years.
That the plans have been ready, correct?
No, we didn't have plans for it, but it just was one that we always wanted to do. I can tell you that goes back all the way to my beginning days as manager here. It's a very difficult intersection. So We hired MSK engineers. They have gone over the plans. The plans have been reviewed by the State of Vermont Agency of Transportation. All of the curb cuts meet or exceed the standards necessary for traffic at that location, at that speed. The problem is that people have been using Benmont Avenue as a speedway for many, many years. And because it's so wide open and is not controlled through curb cuts, there's a sense of freedom to drive as one sees fit. This, yes, it has narrowed the lanes of travel. It has controlled access onto the street and onto the thorough and into the properties, and that is exactly what it was supposed to do.
And it's in line with what we're going to be talking about the next meeting in terms of traffic calming measures.
These plans go back. I mean, probably it's before Nancy was on the board that this project was designed and discussed. It's just now coming to fruition.
Right.
And I should also remind us that it was approved by VTrans. So the placement of a crosswalk, again, approved as a part of that plan, safe and appropriate. We don't place crosswalks.
Thank goodness. All right, next.
I believe last month, 3 people on this board and town officials met with people from the school system. The meetings.
We did not.
We did not. The meeting was canceled.
We did not meet.
Okay.
So
my question is this. We are all supposed to get out and vote. I think it's on September 10th for the bond for the football field. And I was just interested to know if you had met, why people hadn't come back to get the word out. Most people aren't aware of the vote.
So now you have the answer. The meeting didn't happen, but I should tell you that any bond vote related to the football field would not be an SVSU piece of business. That would not come up in our meeting with the superintendent.
Well,
I would suggest that you reach out.
we would talk about bus, the bus
Town
routes.
and school interaction is what happens at that meeting.
Okay, I'm just going by what you gave Clark and myself in March.
And I did not say it was bond votes.
Well, I'm going what's on paper. It said no, it was talking about budgets.
Nancy, let me just interrupt you and suggest that if you have questions about the bond vote, you should take that to the TURF committee. They're very public and very, very much looking for an audience.
Well, I have a bigger concern. Did this board, were you meeting with the school system back in January and February?
No, we haven't actually met in almost a year, maybe more.
Yeah, we haven't met in quite some time.
Okay. Well, I guess.
And when this board has met with that board, the information has been brought back and shared. I've been on this board for a little over a year now, and anytime that this board met with that board, whatever bits of information were of value were shared back with this board.
Okay. Well, I just think that we need to have a head on the next agenda discussion, because the value of our homes are based on, it decides what we pay for school taxes. And most of the people, what are you shaking your head for?
We cannot discuss school taxes.
No.
We are not the SVSU
So our town,
board.
our town money isn't tied with the school money at all.
It's 2 separate budgets, Nancy.
I
We have no
I
control.
realize that, but with Act 60, the legislature has tied the value of our homes to the school budgets.
Yeah.
And most people have no idea the huge budgets that we had on the ballot in March.
I suggest you go to the SVSU board meeting if you want to have that conversation. It is an appropriate.
Their full board would be the place to address that, yes, the
Okay.
SU's full board meeting.
Well, the public had better find out what they're going to be paying in October for those school budget increases.
Yeah. They'll be getting a bill any day now.
Last question. I've asked several times, and I've had multiple citizens show me documentation on paper. I have seen where it says if we are using federal money, federal law requires we go out to bid. We did not go out to bid on the skateboard park. We used $300 in federal ARPA money. Did this board follow the law when we did not go out to bid?
Asked and answered?
Yes.
Yeah.
We followed our purchasing policy, which is the policy adopted by this board in that particular project. Yes, we did.
Well, Stu, the policy when we went out to bid on the playground with $500,000 of ARPA money is we did go out to bid. So why
in
did
that
we change
particular-
our policy?
Because the public-private partnership, the folks that came to us out of the private side already had a relationship with the ultimate folks that are designing and going to build the park. So they came to us with their contractor in hands. Could we have said, no, we don't want them, we're going to do it, we're going to reinvent the wheel and do it all over again? We could have, but it didn't make sense to do it at
That's
that
not
time.
the issue. The issue is, Grindline is great, but there are other people that could have also submitted those bids. It doesn't answer my question. Does federal law require that we should have gone out to bid?
Not for the ARPA funds, it does not.
Not for the ARPA money?
No.
Federal money, okay.
But not in that particular case. There are certain grants that do require bid practices be followed, but in that particular
Nancy, you have
case,
asked that
the
question
ARPA
at
funds
least two
do
or
not.
three times before, related to
And I've gotten-
and it's been answered.
Well, I don't understand how a couple of officials
If you
said...
don't like it, I understand that, but it's a difference between you not liking a decision that was made by the
Ed, I'm
town
not
staff.
hearing it from a lawyer. I'm not seeing it on paper from a lawyer. Stu's telling me. I just want to make sure what I'm hearing is legal.
It's legal.
Again, I think for many of these questions, when they move beyond the general, how does this work, then that's when you sit down with the town manager, so that you can spend as much time as you need to really understand.
I feel like that was probably the last person that had questions, right? That was the last.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'm not my best self at this
would you
time
like
at
to make a
night.
motion?
Yeah, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Yeah. Anyone want to second that? Absolutely. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Nancy, did you vote yes?
Yes, adjourn.
Okay, great. Okay. Unanimous.